I'll be right back. Dang it.
My eye!
Okay.
Oh my God!
Okay.
Yeah, I heard you whenever you got up. It sounded like you wiped out your whole desk for a second. I guess because it was just like right next to the microphone. I was hearing a bunch of cords go crashing and stuff. Welcome to the After Playlist Podcast, the music playlist discussion and reaction podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Lee.
And I'm Terry O.
And today, this episode is going to be a little special. It's a bit of a special one for us here at After Playlist. This time, around a year ago, we launched the podcast with our first few episodes. And today, we're going to be celebrating the first birthday of the show.
Woohoo!
Woo! Happy birthday, us.
Hell yeah.
And we figured, what better way to do that than just to share some of the music that we love, both new and old, that you might have missed with another recommendation roundup.
Yay. Yep. We're doing it basically how all of this started. Just two bros hanging out, discussing music ad nauseum.
Yep.
So, for this episode, we have one of our largest playlists yet. And that's not just because we got four fat ass albums to discuss, but we also got a couple singles thrown in there as well. So brace yourself. Here we go. The songs that we're going to discuss today include God Gacha by Utsu-P, V.A.N by Bad Omens and Poppy, Lazy by Express 2 and David Byrne, Mind Playing Tricks on Me by Jeter Jones, Lose Control by Teddy Swims. It's called Freefall by Rainbow Kitten. Surprise, what a name. We have Lil Dicky's Mr. McAdams. Then we have
NMIXX is how you say it, yeah. I had to look it up. Yeah, it's NMIXX, yeah.
Thank you. So we got NMIXX with Run for Roses. Then we have Oh No, He Said What? By Nothing But Thieves. Then we have the albums, Kaytraminé. Then we have Busta Rhymes' Blockbusta, followed by Tom Odell's Black Friday, and the classic Alt J, This Is All Yours. If you haven't listened to the songs that we're about to discuss, there's a link in the description, aka the show notes, for this episode's direct links. So click on the link, listen to all 4 hours of these songs, and then react with us or react afterwards. But if you want to listen to those songs legally, there's a Spotify playlist as well as a playlist on YouTube Music, aka YouTube Music, aka YouTube, excuse me.
Small correction there, Terrio.
Right.
It's Blockbusta.
Oh,
not
sorry.
Buster.
Excuse me.
Busta Rhymes.
Excuse me. I do apologize. I decided to bring out my grammar skills for that particular moment of time. So
you were enunciating too well over there. I
know, right? Bad influence. So Blockbusta by Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And as always, before we dive into the show, we have some quick after playlist disclaimers. As always, first and foremost, number one rule here is we respect everyone's opinion, regardless of how wrong and awful it may be. That includes mine, Terrio's, and yes, yours.
Yep.
Second, just again, thank you so much for making our first year one that we'll never forget, honestly. And here's to more music gumbo and goofy discussions for years to come. If we have anything to say about it. Us. Yep. We ain't going nowhere.
Nope.
Number 3, we're not too bad with profanity, but sometimes a few explicit words may slip out occasionally, so you have been warned. And number 4, we're just talking about the music, not the artist's real life, personal, or cancelable issues. So keep that in mind. Don't come at us with any of that bull crap because we don't want to hear it.
Exactly.
And without further ado, let's talk about it. Let's talk about these awesome tracks and albums we put together.
Yeah. So we totally forgot to discuss how we wanted to do this. So you just want to just dive into it, or?
Yeah, I think we can just kind of dive into it. Is there anything, because I have like a few points I kind of probably will, if we just go by the few points I want to talk about, probably be jumping around a bit.
Okay.
I don't know if you have like anything specific.
I'm game. Let's go for it.
Okay, well, first and foremost, you bastard putting Lose Control in here before I could. I've been hearing this. I've been listening to this song since like, I don't know, dude, like going into like the fall of last year. And there was literally like one of the songs that's like, oh yeah. Like I was thinking in my head, like, oh, I'm totally, that would be a great song for the recommendation roundup. I've listened, there's like 3 or 4 different versions of it that they've done. I've listened to all of them. I'm like constantly in my playlist, just like my big YouTube, like giant super mix or whatever they make. Yeah, I love this song, dude.
Yo, that song was a happy accident. So I was listening to, I think I was listening to T-Pain's live show and on YouTube. And then I stepped away for a minute and then the algorithm kicked in and started playing Teddy Swims. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, damn. I was like, oh, this dude is singing his ass off. And then I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, that is not who I thought was singing that song.
He does not look like he sounds at all. The first time I heard this song, I had the same thing. Like it was going to work one morning and I was like, just like double tap my phone. I was like, all right, Teddy Swims. Never heard of him before I heard that song for the first time. And I was stuck in my head once I got to work. I looked him up. I was like, I got to know what this guy looks like. And yeah, it is quite different than how I assume most people probably imagine him in their head.
100%. So yeah, so when I heard that song, I was like, automatic ad. I was like, yes, yeah. This is a banger. Like, it's just so refreshing to hear that kind of soul from a newer artist or whatever. And just a little quick, my little notes on him. You know he's local, right?
So no, I did not.
Yeah,
I did not know that at all.
Yeah. So he's local. So he's actually from Conyers, Georgia. And for anybody else that lives outside of Atlanta, he's from Atlanta. So
yeah,
that's the best way to put it. but yeah. So his background that I read up on pretty quickly. Because he doesn't look the way that he sings, he's that typical guy that played football, got into musical theater, and then was like, "Oh, I'm good at both. I'm just gonna just take over this whole music thing and just run with it." And that's pretty much his whole trajectory since then. Like a teacher recommended he get into chorus, and it's kind of just like, "Oh, cool."
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, and he got successful basically by singing cover songs on YouTube and things of that nature, and ended up getting signed. And he basically followed a similar trajectory that Chica did. Got signed for posting stuff online, and they're label mates. So,
that's awesome.
I would love, and I'm manifesting it now. I would love to hear Chica
to do a collab.
Yes.
That would be great. Have Teddy come in and do like the hook or the chorus with his just heavenly vocals he's got, dude.
And have both of them sing together, and I think he can rap too. So
it is interesting. Just while you bring that up, I noticed because I've only listened to a handful, like maybe literally 3 songs of his, like including this one. He's one of the artists that like I've been meaning to kind of dive into and listen to a lot more of his stuff. I just haven't had the chance or kept forgetting. But whenever I did Google him, I don't remember all the different genres, but I remember having a moment where like just all the genres Google lists him as is like. Yeah. Because I remember it was like Americana, neo soul, country, something, and like it was like 2 or 3 other genres that
it was like a progressive rock thing, and like also like a little bit of like new metal or something. I think
something, and I was just like, dude, how is he doing all of this?
I mean, it's just one of those things where like because you pretty much can sing on anything, and it's just they really can't put you in a box, and that's where you kind of just get thrown into all these different categories because you do one song that sounds like this, and therefore you're that now.
I could be wrong in saying this, but. Maybe it's my optimism speaking, but I feel like with what you're talking about, like, first of all, we're going to see a lot more, I think, in the future going forward of musical stars being like coming up and being discovered through the internet, posting like clips online and stuff. That's just the nature of this.
It's already happening now.
Right.
Like, I mean, Chance the Rapper is one of them. Like,
True.
And Soulja Boy was the original one, if you ask him.
In addition to that, I think because of how like, a lot of, we've talked about it, I think a little bit before, but like it seems like the attention spans are getting shorter and like a lot of content is like much more like tighter and a smaller, tighter package or whatever. I think that kind of lends itself a little bit to experimenting. So if you're like coming up, trying to make it in the music industry and you have these kind of, we'll say disparate, like musical tastes that, a lot of people maybe have in their heads, like don't really go together, but you were able to mix them just trying to experiment. I think we're going to get a lot more of that of people like just experimenting and trying to like, make something unique and different sounding while trying to make a name for themselves And then that's going to just create these new, as we like to say here, music gumbo-y sounds that we are all about. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. The only problem with that is as soon as that becomes popular or becomes a trend, you got 87 people doing that same thing, and that's and then it like gets new. It doesn't get a chance to really flourish. So that's just me being an old man, you know, in my 30s, whatever, just like reminiscing on how music used to be, because you know you had time to actually like ruminate on stuff, but now these fads come and go so quick. It's like, whoa, I didn't get a chance to really enjoy that moment in time. Sometimes,
hopefully, it becomes a fad that has some more staying power, but time will tell. Time will tell.
Absolutely. Speaking of staying power, I'm going to jump into one of mine that caught me by surprise. Jeter Jones, Mind Playing Tricks on Me.
So, okay. YouTube has been literally based on like the album art. Mm-hmm. I've not listened to, outside of this song, I'm not listening to anything off this album where this song is from, but YouTube has been recommending me this album for months now, it seems like. Mm-hmm. Because this album came out like late last year or something, right? I
think so. So somewhere around there.
If it wasn't the album, it was at least like some singles off the album. It was like recommending me before the album came out at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Chose not to look any of this up. But yeah, I've been seeing this, like at least that album art with the guy with like the chainmail cowl on or whatever you would call it, like for months. And it's always, I didn't recognize the name Jeter Jones.
Yeah.
And so it's one I've almost clicked on it like literally several times just to be like, who is it? Why does YouTube keep recommending me this? Like, if they keep recommending, surely it's like somewhere in my taste, right? But there was always something else to listen to, or something else would distract me, or whatever it was.
Well, this one's probably my fault, because I think one of our previous songs might have disturbed your algorithm. What's the name? My Deaf Brother may have had something to do with this one.
My deaf brother.
She fine. But so this one was a holiday accident. So I was setting my mom up with the Spotify account during the holidays, because you know I'm trying to get her to listen to music how she want to listen to her music and not have to go through me. So I was setting up her phone and setting all this up, and then I was like, oh yeah, they got these different blues stations and stuff. So I know you like blues. So I was just playing blues through the house, and then this song came on, and I was like, hold up, is that what I think it is? And I listened to the song. I was like, no, they didn't. So they took not they, but Jeter Jones. That's a cover of a 1991 rap song that he turned into a blues song. Mm. So he took Ghetto Boys' Mind Playing Tricks on Me, which is a rap song. Ghetto Boys is where Scarface, the rapper, legendary MC, came from. R.I.P. Bushwick Bill, which is why he said that also in the song as well in the very beginning. But yeah, so he took that iconic song, rap song, and turned it into a blues song. So that.
Okay. I was vaguely familiar with the original. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm.
So, and just like a little tidbit about him, he is a retired 20-year Army vet turned blues singer from Louisiana. Jeter Jones.
Okay.
Yeah, so respect. Thank you for your service, and thanks for making this bomb ass music, bro.
Yeah. Absolutely agree with that. I did. It was a nice. This entire playlist, honestly, was a very nice like mix of different genres and sounds.
Oh yeah, we went all over the place.
It was very, a lot of times there's some weight if you want to accuse us of being a little hip hop centric. There's something to that, but this time we really branched out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think this is a great example of that. Like speaking of branching out, we both had some. I mean, I think yours falls into this category. Some K-pop songs. Is God Gacha considered K-pop? Because like the whole Hatsune Miku being like a fake VTuber personality, which I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did know that at the time, but then when I did my notes on it, I was tripping out about that whole thing, about that whole genre.
I recognized the name just on like memes and stuff, like the Hatsune Miku, and so I was like, Is that how I think it is? So I Googled it. Like as soon as I got the playlist, I Googled it and I was like, oh, that is Hatsune. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we both, and this is another great example of just like music. A year ago today, we would not have had in a playlist.
100%.
Both God Gacha and Run for Roses, which
yes,
I want to say, because NMIXX, they had a new EP that came out. There's a few different songs in there that I thought were pretty good, but this one in particular, I picked it for like one specific instrumental reason. Can you guess what it is, you think?
Okay, so when listening to that one, I like the banjo. Like it has like a little banjo and it has like a little guitar sound. Yeah, the fiddle. Yeah. I caught that.
It's literally the first time I was just listening to the EP, and at first, it's got a nice little guitar riff, and I was like, okay, it's a little bit more rocky vibes than like the other K-poppy stuff they've done or whatever that I've heard from them. And then just literally going into like the first chorus, that fiddle comes in, and immediately I was like, all right, this one's added to the playlist.
I caught that because at first I was like, okay, I'm hearing it, but then I was just like, why am I like thinking Old Town Road for some reason?
Dude, I did not expect to hear a fiddle on a K-pop song. Let me just say that.
And then just jumping back to Gacha. Where how did I come across? So I had another song from Utsu-P or whatever, the producer. So he's like a Japanese Vocaloid producer, and there's like a whole thing with
Vocaloid. That's the word.
Yes. So that's a genre that it is. And yeah, so when I did my research on it, I was like, I like the song, and I keep seeing little cartoon characters or whatever. I'm just like, okay, that's interesting artwork. And then I did a little deep dive. I was like, oh, that's a whole nother thing. And apparently Hatsune Miku, and RIME or whatever, I think, who's also in the song. These are AI voices. So basically as a Vocaloid producer, he'll make the beat or whatever, and then he'll input the lyrics and the melody of how he want these AI voices to sing. So this is like a whole nother level of AI music stuff, but this is like an original AI stuff, not taking other people's legit voices and stuff. We'll say that for a later episode. But
I think there is actually like a human voice actor behind it, or at least initially, wasn't there? Well, or maybe I'm not looked super in depth into the Vocaloid.
Well, basically the artists, Miku and RIME or whatever, they are voice banks provided by these software companies. So Miku is from Kitten, Kryton, Future Media, and then the other one is from CVO AI voices. So I'm not sure how they created the voices. I'm not sure if they were synthesized from original machine learning, whatever buzzword they want to use now, or if they had a voice actor, say these
come in and at least record a bunch of words or something.
Exactly.
That could be a combination, or I don't know. AI voice technology is so crazy right now. It literally could be any of the three or a combination of the three in any differing amounts.
Exactly, in any capacity, and it's really creepy. But interesting at the same time. But
interesting, and there is obviously. I really enjoyed this song, God Gacha. So there's some good music coming out from it,
Yeah, like the song is a banger. The lyrics are interesting though, because I was like, okay, now that I figured out that like they had to input the lyrics, I was like trying to figure out. I was like, okay, well, what am I like legit, rocking out to? And this song is interesting. So like the song God Gacha, it has it's not religious, but it does talk about God saying that the what's the common phrase people say all the time, things happen in mysterious ways kind of deal. In the first chorus it says even if I wanted to start over again, it's impossible. Even if I pull the cyber reset plug, it's impossible. So it's it's kind of esoteric. It's one of those things where it's like you can't go back and fix the past. It is what it is. Just take it one step at a time situation. God got you, I guess, if that's something you believe in. But yeah, I don't understand none of it because it was in Japanese.
I was curious because like Gacha, the way it's spelled on here is like a type of game, like the Gacha games where you have like, you have like characters or items that you like in quotes roll for. And like you have a chance to get like, there's like usually different tiers and like, it's a smaller chance to get like the higher tier characters. But if you get them, then you can like, show them off to your friend, like, oh, look what I rolled and stuff. So it's like a type of like, it's really big in like mobile spaces, which in like Japan, especially like mobile gaming is like way bigger than it is here in the States.
Yeah, for sure.
Genshin Impact is probably the biggest one at least here in America in the last few years, it's like really blown up because you have different characters you can play with, and you have to like save up your gems or money, whatever it is, and then you like spend it on a chance to get good characters.
Huh. So this is kind of like a double entendre, I guess. Not double entendre, but like a double meaning or whatever. So God got you, and also you got to roll for whatever God gonna give you. I guess I don't know,
something like that.
Something like that. But that one and NMIXX is pretty dope. I was pleasantly surprised and delighted that we both end up picking like some K-pop, J-pop, J-rock, K-rock influence stuff on a recommendation roundup for our wonderful listeners to listen to.
I almost picked the EP that Run for Roses was off of, was almost my second album pick, but like the first 3, I think there's 7 tracks on the EP, and the first 3 songs I really liked. And that was whenever I think I was texting you like, oh, I just found my album, and then immediately was like, never mind, I didn't. That's because I listened to the first 3 and I was like, these are so good, I think this is gonna be my album. And then I listened to the 4th one and then the 5th one, and it just like was such a steep, like, not necessarily drop off in quality, but just like the vibe was just like, I don't know, it sounded much more generic K-poppy. It didn't hook me like the first 3 did. So that's
funny because God, we're merging again. This is scary. So I was gonna do that the same thing with Utsu-P, and because I got a couple of songs by him that I like, and I was like, okay, cool. You know what? Like he had an album that came out last fall. I was like, okay, let me throw that on there. Listen to 2 songs. I was like, I think 1 is enough because like it would have been a lot.
Yeah.
So,
well, another song that I had seen a good handful of times and just kept glossing over was V.A.N. by Bad Omens and Poppy. And I didn't realize, like, I remember seeing the song title, seeing that it was like a new single was out, and then seeing I recognized the album art, but just like flipping through my like new music recommendations on YouTube and Spotify or whatever, I didn't fully read the artist. So I only read Bad Omens, who before this song I was not super familiar with. So I was like, I don't know them. I'm going to keep scrolling through this big, huge list of new music I've got, see if I can find something I actually recognize. I probably scrolled by it like 5 or 6 times. It wasn't until you added it and I stopped and actually read it. I was like, oh, Poppy. Yep. We talked about how she's like all metal, new metal now and everything, and how like we want to give that like a chance and actually check it out. And we never have. So this was just, I was excited for a moment, like, oh, we're going to do it. What we said we were going to do months ago.
Yeah. So that popped up on my feed and I was like, oh, Poppy. Okay. Yeah, I remember her. And then I listened to the song and I immediately was hooked. I was like,
it's a good one.
It's so good. Like her delivery. The scary part is her delivery is so meticulous that it sounds like Hatsune Miku, essentially.
Right.
Like it sounds like an AI
sounds
voice.
AI generated.
But like she is so like on point with all of her inflections, and the way she wrote that beat was like phenomenal. Yes,
dude. She has like cultivated a, I don't know, vibe. I feel like that's not totally encompassing of what I'm trying to say, but like whenever she sings, she just has like an energy about her, I guess. And she's just like so well has just keyed in on that, zeroed in on it. And it's just like, at least based on this song, again, I'm not listening to like, whole albums of her new metal stuff or anything yet, but based on this song, so like if you go back and listen to like her very first like super over the top pop,
produced,
way overproduced crap. And like even that, like we said in whatever episode it was where I like first introduced her or whatever way back when, like even that one, like those songs like have like a spark of something like this. It's just nice to see like the journey as an artist, like how much she's grown skill wise in harnessing her like unique voice.
Yeah,
I feel like
I love it when an artist gets comfortable in their sound. They're like, this is what I do. This is what I'm about. Give me a song. I'm gonna do my thing on it. You book me. You know what you're gonna get. And like with Poppy, with this sweet aggressive sound, like I just love that. Like I heard it one time. I was like, I hate to do it. I know we got 85,000 songs on this playlist, but I gotta add one more. Like it was too good to not recommend this song to
as soon as you added it and I actually listened to it, I was fully on board before I even listened to it, but especially after I heard it, I was like, yeah, no, this deserves to be on here. We need to tell more people about this one.
Yes. Okay, we got to talk about Lil Dicky's Mr. McAdams.
You sound like you got thoughts. Let's hear them.
I don't like that song. The first time I heard it, I was like, okay, like automatic eye roll, but I gave it a chance. After that point, I skipped it every time. I was like, I can't do another Lil Dicky song like this. And it's not that, Lil Dicky don't got bars. I'm a fan. I like his stuff.
He doesn't really have bars in this song. No, absolutely not.
It's so dumb. It's like you're trying to regenerate that Freaky Friday sound that he had with Chris Brown and whatever this is. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe it's something for the show or something. I don't know.
I was about to say yes. So This whole album is like, it's all obviously original music, but it's original music he wrote largely for the show. Okay.
That makes sense.
Like the song in particular, Mr. McAdams, is from the third season. The most recent season came out.
Okay.
Still haven't watched it, but I've caught like snippets here and there and stuff. But yeah, honestly, dude, the whole album for me was kind of a letdown. Just I think there are a couple good songs, and there's one in particular I didn't want to put it on here. It's because of a few different reasons, but it's like it's another big long skit type song, kind of like Pillow Talking, similar to that, where he's like going to prison. And that's just, I feel like he does kind of excel in that style. Yeah. Where he does like a long and he's like rapping as different people with himself on the song or whatever. Like he does that very entertaining. But yeah, overall the entire album, I guess because of the connection, like like I said, they're all songs from the show or whatever. It's just not. It
won't connect it for me. So I guess if I saw it in the show, I might have some affinity with it. But just like basing it off of just the song itself is so generic and cringy. Like I was like, ugh, like come on, man, like do better. So was not a fan of that one. But hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Now you want to burst your bubble if you was like a fanboy over the song, but I just was not a fan.
I put this one on here because. And like, I'm saying this as someone who also agrees with what you just said for the most part. But this was probably like top 3 on the album for me, which I feel like says a lot.
That says a lot.
Obviously, music is very subjective. So if you're out there and you're just really vibing to this new Penith Lil Dicky album, which that's what it's called, Penith.
What?
Yeah. It's also a pun from his show or whatever, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very much a show tie-in for the most part. He has talked about how he's wanting to focus, like I think because making this album and like making all these original songs for the show has kind of re-sparked his interest in music because he's not really made like on that other podcast show he guested on, you sent me or whatever. He talked about how he's like really starting to get like the passion and motivation to just be back in the studio like day in and day out making new music. So maybe we'll get like. Because I feel like this music, while it is obviously Lil Dicky music, it's like Lil Dicky music from the mind of Dave Bird, the director, not Lil Dicky, the rapper.
Exactly.
So to speak, that's what it feels like to me. So there's that slight disconnect. Whereas I want Lil Dicky, the rapper,
Exactly. Like I need more of that Save That Money vibe. Like, yeah, because that song from beginning to end, you don't need to show the tie-in. You get what that song and what that moment was about in that whole song. The whole Mr. McAdams thing, I'm like, okay, Rachel McAdams, okay, blah, 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 blah. She's cute, whatever. I get it. But it's just like, bruh, come on. Like, we don't need any more simp records. We got Drake for that. We don't need any more for that. Like, it's too much.
Yeah. But I mean, it is literally the Dave soundtrack is like parentheses for the album. So, like, I feel like you should somewhat go into it expecting, like, what it is.
All right, jumping back into the good stuff. Oh no, he said what? I like that one. That's a good
one. This was, if I remember right, I think Nothing But Thieves. I had a song from them on our like this is the only song by this artist we like episode. I believe it was that one.
Okay,
and I still have not really. The only thing I've heard of them from them since that song on that episode, which is Amsterdam was the song from that episode.
Oh, that's why I like their vibe, because I really like that Amsterdam song. And I like the way that guy sings, because like
he's got a good voice.
He has a great voice, and I love that note that he holds right before going into the chorus. I was like, oh God, like that gets me every time.
The only other things I've like seen them do was like a few covers of other people. Like I saw them do it's a Miley Cyrus song that like blew me. It was like Flowers or something.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the name of the song.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. But they like covered that song, and he like, dude, like I mean, I'm not a huge Miley Cyrus fan, anyways, but I will never hear Miley Cyrus's version of that song without thinking of that's how good they did it. So yeah, just happened to pop up, and dude, this song gives me so much of the same vibes from like Two Door Cinema Club's Game Show album.
Mm-hmm.
It has. All right, let's just take a quick break just for me to show you this real quick.
Okay.
Right? Like you heard it immediately almost.
Yep.
The like synth piano or whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm. That and Lavender. That's a song by them I have on one of my other playlists.
Oh, I love Lavender. Which that's just a great album. I could have put that album on there, honestly, but
yeah.
If you've not heard Game Show by Two Door Cinema Club, go check it out.
Absolutely.
But yeah, oh no. : he said what?
He said what?
Nothing but these. Literally within like the first 15 seconds, I literally thought I was listening to a Two Door Cinema Club, which is like they're one of my like top 10 probably favorite like indie rock bands. So just the fact that it sounds so much like that, and I know that this is a group that I had heard before, and the one song I heard I really liked. I had to have them on here.
I am becoming a fan. I'm about to do some investigating on them, and
I know, right? After this, I'm definitely gonna see, because I think this is like the only single.
Okay.
Like, so I'm gonna wait to see if like a whole album comes out soon from this. I don't know. It might be out now, and maybe I've just missed it.
So before we recorded, I sent you a music video to watch. Yes,
I did. I assume you're gonna talk about Lazy first.
Yep, Lazy by Express 2 featuring Dave Byrne.
This could be the like soundtrack to my life some days, I feel like. Or at least there are days where I wish it was. Maybe I should say it that way.
Bruh. So this song resurfaced out of nowhere. So I put I'm trying to get my music profiles and all that stuff together. So I finally got my Spotify set up on a personal level, and then also got my YouTube music recalibrated, and I threw stuff on shuffle mode. And I was just driving, and this song popped up. I totally forgot about this song, and I was like, oh, it brought back so many memories. So this song, I discovered this song around the time I was first getting into EDM. I'm smiling every time the song comes on. It's so dumb, but brilliant at the same time.
It's so brilliant. Yes. Full-heartedly agree with that.
Yeah. And we both know that neither one of us are lazy people, but just the idea of just being lazy and like having like a day off and just like literally being a full-fledged vegetable, struggling to like get up to even go to the bathroom. Like I can't even be bothered for that. Like to have those days every once in a while, it's like the dream.
But in the music video, at least, like I feel like the way it ends is definitely like at least somewhat being like, all right, like it's fine to be lazy, but don't like let it contain your whole life, because the guy literally like passes out on the floor, unable to get through his breakfast on the robot because the robot's battery got switched off or whatever, and so he finds like a hair covered Snickers bar and decides I'll just eat this and pass out. It's like that is not. That's not where I want my life to be, as much as I would love a day of doing like having zero things to do.
That is true, but it's also relatable. So.
It is relatable. That's also very true.
Because it's been some days it's like, I could make a whole meal, but I do have that leftover taco that's been sitting out all night. I'll just eat that. Just, like we've all been there. Some of us are currently there now. But yeah, so I never watched a music video. So today, like when I sent it to you, that was literally after my first time watching a music video for it. I didn't realize that there was a video for it. And I watched that and I was like, oh my God. So this song came out in 2002. And the amount of things in that video that is accurate to today in 2024 is astounding to me.
They had no idea.
Had no idea. And I'm just like, there's like literally a rotary phone in his video, but everything else from like the vacuum cleaner being a robot to the like everything being brought to you. Like, I was like, God, they predicted the future and didn't realize they did it. Because like this is where we're at now. Dude. It's so scary. Like that's where we're heading, man. Like, well, we're already there now, but it's definitely getting worse.
It's getting that the music video is being realized more and more each day for sure.
Absolutely.
Did we have Express 2? Have we had them before?
Nope. This is the first time.
I don't know. The name seems so like familiar to me. Like as soon as I was looking at the plays, I was like, "What is that? Have we had them before?" Or, like this was me, like thinking to myself, like, "We had them before." Or have they just popped up randomly somewhere else and I've just heard them?
I mean, well, I don't know. Unless you're thinking of the clothing company Express or whatever. But like,
also, you just saying, I didn't realize that this song was from like 22 years ago. So I mean, it's possible it was just like buried deep in my subconscious from 20 years ago, and I've just not thought about it.
Possibly. But also, fun fact for those who didn't know, like myself, David Byrd, I had no idea that was a guy from Talking Heads. So
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so that's
I thought it was just some guy.
Yeah, but the way he was singing, it reminded me of Talking Heads, like that kind of style. And I was like, huh. And then when I did research, I was like, oh, I'll be doggone, that was the guy from Talking Heads. And like he's like now like 70-something years old. So he did that when he was like make this song when he's like 50-something years old. So that's just. You gotta love music is timeless, man. The man's still out there singing and performing. All right, and let's jump into the last one of our singles. It's called Freefall.
I'm curious what your thoughts were on this nice little acoustic ballad, I guess we'll call it. I don't. That's probably not the right word, but it's not really ballady at all.
Okay. So every time the song comes on, I don't like it. But then the chorus comes in, then I get hooked.
It's the chorus for me too, dude. It really is.
It's definitely one of those songs. I'm just like I'm like, what Mumford & Sons as song am I listening to right now? And then the chorus comes on like, get on your shit. I'm like, oh, okay, we talking some real talk now. Okay, I'm in. You got me. And then it picks up a little bit after that. So I was like, okay, I'm in. But like, I'm always like, I got one foot out the door. Like I got one finger on the skip. Like I'm like there, about to hit it. And then it drags me back in every time.
I relate to that. This part of the reason I put this song by this group on here is, man, there's several songs. I've not like listened to their whole discography or anything, but Rainbow Kitten Surprise, it's just something about them. They have such a weird vibe, a unique sound that definitely it does kind of take you out of it. At least for me, every time I listen to it, instead of I've heard the song so many times, it's still just like, what is this song right now? It's just like part like slow acoustic vibe, but then it's also like indie rock vibe, and it's also like and then they have like these really cool themes, and like, you know, the messaging behind it is good. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just an interesting group. Like every time I listen to them, I'm like, this is interesting. So I wanted to get more ears on them and see what you thought about.
It's definitely different. Like I was not expecting that vibe at all. And I guess part of it because, I mean, it's just, okay, this is a personal thing, but like the couple times I've been to, you know, some bars with some friends outside, you know, after work, and it just gives me that feeling of, okay, it's 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, you're still at the bar, somebody pulls out a guitar and everybody is singing, but kind of on key, but not on key, and all singing, trying to sing together. It's just like, it kind of gives me that vibe where I'm just like,
I can see that.
Like, it's that feeling of like, okay, I need to Irish goodbye as soon as possible, because like this is not not the vibe for me. So, but then I get drugged into it every time. So it's just like, it's one of those songs that I agree people need to hear. They need to get their ears on it, and I would dare to say that it's one of those songs that you don't need consent. Like you just need to hear the song.
Yeah,
the song just needs to happen upon you.
I do just also really like lyrically speaking, where the repeated refrain of calling the devil, and like the devil, you know, called it the devil, and the devil said quit.
Yep.
Can't be bothered. Better handle your shit.
Yep.
It's just like stuff like that.
Yes.
And it's like, it repeats with like the devil saying different things. Like the bars all close at 10 in hell. That's a rule I made. Like just little things like that. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it feels like a bar song. Like it's just so random. It's so random. It like almost gives me like an acoustic Tenacious D vibe, so to speak, kind of, but not quite.
Yeah, kind of. Slightly less like intentionally comedic, but still has like I think that's part of it. It has like a slight, ever so slight comedic bent to it, just a little bit for me, like lyrically, like the way they wrote it.
Yeah. I almost said Tenacious Little D, but I don't think that. I was like, what's a light version of Tenacious D? OMG. Well, on that glorious note, let's take a little break, and then we're gonna jump into the albums on this massive playlist. And I have some thoughts, and I know you do too.
I definitely do.
All right, y'all. We'll be right back.
And welcome back.
Woo-hoo.
I think we both feel a little better after taking that break. Hopefully you do as well, listener.
Yeah.
You just want to go like just how we have it on the playlist and the albums, or is there specific things you want to talk about, kind of jumping around? How do you want to do the albums?
I'm kind of digging the jumping around thing. So I started off the last go around. I'm gonna start off with you this time. Of the albums, which one jumped out to you the most?
Oh, Kaytraminé.
Gotcha.
Hands down, Kaytra. This was such a nice and tight 11 track album.
11 albums.
11 album track. It's one track, 11 albums. Yes.
The album's still playing right now. We're still listening to the playlist right now as we're recording. It's that long.
11 track album, I meant to say. I literally like every single song on the album. I don't think there's a bad song on the album. I have actually been an Amine fan.
Okay.
Amine, however you say his name.
Amine.
Okay, I think it was, yeah. I've been a fan of his for like a while, dude. Like, I mean, going back to like 2015, 2016, he had a bunch of like kind of, I don't know if underground is quite the word, but there were definitely like lesser known raps that he had all about the anime Yu Yu Hakusho, which was like in the like 90s and early 2000s. Yeah. It was like that, Dragon Ball, and like Naruto, and of course One Piece always been. Those are like the big four. So
real quick, shout out to Toonami. What's up?
Yeah. Toonami was definitely where most people probably watched it. But yeah, so he has like, I think he might have had like an entire like EP or album or something where like every song was like named after like a different character, had something to do with Yu Yu Hakusho. Being the anime nerd I am, like back in the day, whenever that album came out, and like, or at least whenever I discovered it, like listened to it a ton. His big song Caroline, that I think is probably his most well-known hit. It's definitely, I think, his most successful hit. Is also like there for like a few years. Like it was one of those songs that I would hear it weekly because it was just always in my rotation. And I remember this album coming out because this came out like earlier last year. Right? It's kind of like early in the year last year, right?
Yeah. It was
like
early,
spring or summer.
Yeah, it was about like
ish.
Yeah, it was like mid. I think it was like March, April, May.
Oh, okay, so it was even earlier than I was thinking.
Yeah,
I just remembered it was like way earlier in the year, and I remember seeing like the album art, but I didn't put together. And I'm not going to say I'm like a huge fan, but I'll definitely listen to KAYTRANADA a few times here and there, and so I like what he's done. And like I said, I've been a huge fan of Amine. I had no idea that it was like a combo group effort of theirs. That's what this was. It wasn't until you put it on here and I was like literally halfway through the playlist, I was like, man, like at this point I'd realized who it was, but I was just like, man, how did I like miss this amazing album for like basically all of last year? Yeah,
this album is so fucking good.
It is so good, dude. Holy crap, it's so good.
Right? Like I've been listening to this album like in between podcasts, in between our playlists and stuff. This is like one of the albums that like I'll put on and just ride out to it and enjoy it and listen to it on repeat. And my introduction to Kaytraminé is the inverse of yours. I was a fan of the Kaytranaدا and his work.
I had a feeling that was going to be the case just because Kaytranada is definitely more like, it's more on the producer side of stuff. I mean, it was more on the rapping side of stuff.
Yeah.
As I was listening to it, I had this conversation in my head, bro. I imagined us having this exact conversation and being like, yeah, I've known and been a big fan of Amine for forever. And you're like, oh yeah, I've known and been a big fan of Kaytranada for forever.
Yeah. So this was my introduction to Amine. Like, I haven't heard any of his stuff prior to this. So I got the alert. They're like, oh, Kaytranada has a new release out. And I was like, oh, word? Because like Kaytranada's album, Bubba, if you haven't listened to that yet, phenomenal album.
I think I've heard bits or like, a few songs off of it. I'm not listening to the whole thing.
Yeah. And then and like he's been doing like remixes and stuff like that. So I forgot somebody actually introduced me to Kaytranada and I was like, oh, this dude is dope as fuck. So, and then like I researched him a little bit and I was like, okay, like he reminds me of one of my friends because like he's super talented, but he's like reserved and quiet and like very shy and timid, but is like a beast at what he does.
Yes.
And it's like a quiet confidence or whatever. And
really, they both are, which I think.
Yeah. Yes. And I think
Amine is at least to some extent. I think he is because he's been like very like independent rapper vibe in his music for the long. This is like the first song I've heard of his where like it feels like he's like this was like a bust out album almost. Man, like this is the tracks on this album like belong in like mainstream music. Well, versus a lot of his other music could be kind of, like I said, more underground, more kind of independent type sounding.
Which is kind of weird because Kaytranada, which I watched an interview on from Apple Music that they did together, and it's funny how they put it. Like Kaytranada, he defines himself as he's like, I'm a hip hop producer that does EDM, and here is Kaytranada flex his hip hop skills while still keeping his traditional sound. Because like the whole album Bubba, just like this album, how it has like little random interstitials between the songs. Like it just be like a whole like the song would fade out and then like a little maybe like 13-second beat instrumental will come in and then the next song will come in. His album Bubba is like that too. So you literally just press play and it just rides. It's so smooth. Like it's like nothing is jarring. Everything flows right into one another. And that's what this Kaytraminé album is. Again, I've basically became an Amine fan because I was like, okay, first I was like, Kaytranada rapping now? Like he don't even really do interviews like that. Like he rapping? But like Amine came on here. I was like, oh, that's who's doing it. Who's doing the rapping? And Amine, dude got bars.
And he's got bars and he can sing. And this is something I felt for the longest time. And I guess as a big part of the reason why I've been such a fan of his, pretty much since I first heard him, but he has like a very unique, good flow.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason why I like this album so much is like Kaytranada was able to come in and like, I mean, I'm sure they were working on it together, but they were able to get whatever for literally every single song on this album, the beats combined with Amine's flow is just like so perfect together. Like if I didn't know that, if you just put one of these songs on, I would have been like, oh, this was like the rapper was in there. Like definitely he probably produced this himself. And that's why it's so like nice and tight and everything flows well because he was in there. He already had the song written and he was making the beat to match the song. No, it's another dude. I mean, I'm sure they worked, like I said, very close together to get it done, but it's just
literally, bro. They rented a house in Cali and Kaytranada would do the beats and during the day, and then Amine would write some lyrics at night or vice versa. But whenever possible, get in the same room. There's an energy.
Don't be lazy with it, because that energy is infectious, 100%.
It's a whole vibe.
And not only is it infectious, but it also, how do I want to put it? The energy like ricochets, I guess, for lack of a better word. Yeah. Like if one person starts having some of the creative juices really start flowing, that affects the next person in the room. Then their brain starts kicking into high gear and they start coming up with some great stuff. And then that energy just reflects back to the person who sent it to them originally. And it just keeps bouncing back and forth. And you just really start to build on each other's ideas and creative juices. And it's
so good, man.
Makes beautiful stuff like this album, man. And like I said, this is probably like top 5 albums for me now. I think like it's so rare that an album I can just sit down, press play on song 1, which who he is, dude. The very first song sets the vibe so well for this song. It just draws you in. It's probably, I don't know if it is my favorite, but it's a close contender for my favorite on the whole album.
Oh yeah.
And then it literally just does not let up until you get to the end of the album.
And the worst part about it is the song, like the end of the album. he's still rapping, and it fades out while he's rapping. So it's like not done. It doesn't like stop.
I love when they do that, dude. It
like,
leaves you wanting more.
It does. And like they were teasing it, and like I mean, I know KAYTRANADA's got his own career. I mean, they has their own career, but they truly fucked up because this is all I want now. This is all I want from them. Like, I want them to stop doing your independent stuff. Get together, move in, like buy the whole neighborhood. I don't care. Yeah. Just stay in that house and make me like nonstop albums because it's so good. But yeah, that album, I've been sitting on that one for a while. I truly have. I was like, ooh, I've been wanting to send this to you for the longest time. But I was like, I gotta wait for the right moment.
I have no idea like how. I mean, again, it's been basically a year since this album came out, almost. And I've seen, this is another one I've seen so many times pop up. As soon as you put it on there, it's like, oh, I know that album art. It's like, I've seen that on YouTube so many times.
Yeah. You bastard. How dare you put this album on here before I do? I've been meaning to get around the Blockbusta for the longest time, and you threw it on there pretty much immediately after we made this list. And I was like, God dang it. Okay.
So, and look, in my defense, I did it for myself too, because I feel like I listened through it once, like whenever it first came out, like kind of near the end of last year. And then, I shelved it to listen to podcast stuff and other music and kind of forgot about it. And I didn't even listen to it like all the way through. I'm trying to remember if I did or not. Because I mean, this is like, there's like 18, 19 songs in here or something.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like Busta did a lot on this album.
I feel like there's definitely several very good songs that I love really on here. It's not the same as like the Kaytraminé album where there's definitely not. I can't just sit down at song 1, press play, and I'm going to love every single song. There's definitely a few I'm like,
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But I think that's my take is because it has like 8 more songs. That's 8 more songs to kind of lose me than Kaytraminé. If Kaytraminé had tried to have a 20-song album, there probably would have been at least a few that I didn't necessarily vibe with as much. Potentially.
I disagree.
Maybe
with
not.
I disagree with that because so there's a difference when you have a single producer and then you have multiple producers on the album.
That is true. That is true. So, it is much more just like focused vision when it's just one producer, one rapper, like the Kaytraminé album.
Exactly. Just like how Chica's album was one producer in every song. Like she had a lot of songs on her album too, but everything flowed and everything just went together. Yeah. So not to say that you can't do the same with multiple producers, but you need to have make sure mandate that if you're going to do that.
There needs to be like a central vision that everyone's kind of working towards.
Exactly.
To accomplish that with multiple people.
Okay. So I got some thoughts on this album, but I don't want to overtake it or debo the conversation. So you have any more thoughts on it before I go crazy?
I mean, and similarly to the Kaytraminé, I feel like the statement right out the gate really sets a certain tone. That was one of my favorites from the album. It starts off pretty strong. Like he's coming out and he's saying I'm Busta Rhymes, man. Ain't no new kid gonna come in the rap game and mess with me and take my spot. I've earned it. This is basically just saying this whole album is calling everyone, not really calling everyone out, but stating my piece on how I'm a fixture in the game and you're going to recognize my spot in rap history, right?
100%.
Some of the songs I don't like, the Young Thug one, okay. With Young Thug featuring was kind of meh for me.
I agree.
Beach Balls was kind of meh for me. I've listened to a few songs with Bia, however you say it, however you pronounce her name. And I've heard, so she has a few songs with one song she has with J. Cole, and there's just a couple other songs with just some really big talented rappers or whatever. I don't know why I've not really looked into it too much, thought about it too much, but this is just my own personal thing. I'm not a huge fan of her, per se, but she's on a lot of good songs I like. The J. Cole song I like his verse is one of my all-time favorite verses of his. He just kills it. But then, she comes on in the first half and I got to sit through that first half to get into the good J. Cole part. And I kind of feel Beach Ball, they have the back and forth kind of. And it's, I don't know, man, just Bia kind of kills it for me.
Have you seen the video for that one though?
No, I didn't watch the music video for any of these.
Okay, so
sadly,
the video for this one, it definitely harkens back to classic Busta Rhymes, where the video is just over the top and kind of silly, but you could tell the budget was a little slashed on it. It was pretty much all green screen, but it was still kind of funny though. I'll highly recommend you check that out. It made me like the song more by watching the video.
I'll definitely check that out. It might change how I view it, my perspective on it.
But I do warn you, when you do watch the music video for it, there is a unnecessary amount of DJ Khaled at the end of the video. I do apologize in advance for that. So,
any amount is an unnecessary amount, one could argue.
We the best! Sorry.
Well, I do want to say, I kind of dogged on it. I just want to say real quick, I think my favorite, and there's several that I really like Luxury, Legacy, Legend. Those are all really good. I think my favorite is Big Everything with the baby.
Yes. I agree.
I was talking to a friend about this one, and my friend has apparently listened to a lot more DaBaby than I have, and he made the comment of apparently like DaBaby's flow, he kind of has that same flow, like the same flow he has on this one where it's like yeah. He has that same flow basically on every song he does. So they were like, I sent this song to them and I was like, oh man, this is probably my favorite song off this album. You guys got to check this out. And he was like, it's just DaBaby being DaBaby. I'm over it. And I was like, well, I guess I kind of see that. I've not really listened to him like that.
So DaBaby, DA, baby, that one. There's a lot of babies out there. There's memes that say the baby is rapping before you even press play. So like he just so before the beat even come on, he's already like mid-verse.
His flow is the same every time. Yeah.
And he just that. He don't get the time for the beat to come in. He just start just going. Like the beat got to catch up to him. He just rap or whatever with it.
I liked it.
And I also loved it personally because of the sample, the throwback that they sample a classic Bun B record, Get Throw. I keep forgetting how much time has passed. So like, I'm thinking like, because I still listen to Get Thrown all the time. And I'm like, oh yeah, like they sampled that song already? But I'm like, oh, that album did come out in 2005. So, it's been nearly 20 years
ago.
It's been nearly 20 years. It's okay. It's okay to be sampled now.
I think it's fine.
Yeah. So my thought on this album is there's so many good samples. The mystical sample from Shake Your Ass,
and then there's the
yourself.
Return of Mansa Musa.
Yes, with the famous Michael Jackson "Say Mama Sa Makusa."
Which did you know that there's actually like those? That's supposed to be actual lyrics. Yeah. My coworker was telling me about this recently. Like because she was telling me she remembers getting that actual CD back in the day for that Michael Jackson album, and it had the lyrics printed on the cover on the inside. And it's actually something about going over the mountaintops or something with mountains. The Michael Jackson was just like, I ain't gonna say that. I ain't saying that. And he did his whole,
say mama side with my kusa. But so I appreciate Busta with the samples and everything. Production was dope.
Which I will say, I was just minusculely disappointed that there wasn't any moment where Busta just, I feel like, went full rip hog, wide open, 100 miles per hour on this album. He didn't fully do that. And I say minusculely because, Busta's been doing it so long. Even without doing that, he still sounds so good and his flow is so great. And like the double entendres and the wordplay and everything else about his raps is so top notch that it's like, I can't hold it against him very much. But just, go way back, listen to like me, I've listened to the Tech 9 episode. I'm really big on like speed rapping and like lyrical, like a dense lyrical wordplay like that. So I was somewhat expecting at least like one or two tracks with that on here. And we didn't really get the full, he definitely wasn't like rapping slow by any means or anything like that. But like I said, we just didn't get the full like super speed Busta, like what he's kind of known for.
And that's the thing. So you said the first song, The Statement, produced by Timbaland, was the like kind of set the tone for the album, right? So to me, it was a statement, but also a disclaimer, because the rest of the album, you could tell that this is just Busta having fun. Lyrically, to me, this album does not compete with his previous album, Extinction Level Events 2. That album, you go back and listen to that album. That album
was really good.
That album, just lyrically, sonically, everything flowed. It was a pure hip hop album.
I had never listened. I'd only ever listened to Busta Rhymes as like a featured artist on like, top 100 Billboard hits at that point. I remember this was whenever we like first started to like become friends and know each other. You were like, oh man, this new album just dropped. And it blew me away, dude. That's one of the most memorable album experiences I think I've had, just because I had, in large part because I had this like preconception of who and what Busta Rhymes was. And like you said, that album is so good, top to bottom, front to back. corner to corner. Like it's such a good album.
Yeah.
I think that definitely also probably played a part in, my expectations for this. But you're also right. I think, the statement is both like setting the tone, but is a disclaimer a little bit. I definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Exactly. So all in all, like I said, it's a good album. I enjoyed it.
It's a little long. It's just, if they had just if there was just a few of the songs that I don't really vibe with, I wish I would have just removed and brought it down to like 15, 16.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a much better experience for me, but that's of course subjective. So
yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree with that. All right. So, which way do you want to go? Because I have thoughts on either one.
We could go. We could go either or, honestly, for these last two.
Okay.
I will say these last two are, like I said earlier in the episode, these are definitely good showcases of, we're not just hip hop heads over here. We have a wide range of music taste that we enjoy.
Absolutely.
I think this is this is one of the clearest examples of oh, you think we only listen to hip hop? I actually love this.
Yeah.
Is that hip hop? No. It's not. No, it is not.
Yeah. So, and love, let's put an asterisk. Let's put an asterisk next to that love statement that we just said. Because I have some thoughts.
Fair. Okay. What do you want to start with? Tom Odell or Alt J?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get Tom out the way. So this was my recommendation. I threw this album on there. I have never heard of Tom Odell before throwing this on this playlist. So when I was trying to find a different album, because again, I wanted to kind of show that we're not just hip hop heads. I was like, I know listen to everything. I said, but what's a good indie rock or something? Like, I was trying to figure out do I do a country album? Nah, but I love guitar. So I threw this album on there and I listened to the first two songs. It was like a relatively new release. So I was like, okay, cool. Got through the first two songs. Cool. And I was like, all right, I'm going to throw this on there, submit it, and then we're going to listen to it later. This album is depressing as fuck.
Dude, the main note I have for this whole album is modern Elliott Smith. Which I don't know if you're familiar with Elliott Smith. He's from 90s, early 2000s, I think. He's like an indie alt rock, very similar, slow, somber acoustic. I would be surprised if Tom Odell's denied being influenced by him, because even the singing is very similar. Sadly, Elliott Smith took his own life.
Oof.
And so there's a bunch of, as people who are fans of his, there's a bunch of obviously emotions and stuff tied up with that, just combined with how kind of dark his music and emotional his music would be for a lot of people. So yeah, this literally, so that was the first big note, right? is Elliott Smith, modern Elliott Smith, because it literally just sounds like modern Elliott Smith with a few more orchestral samples, or maybe not samples, but orchestral bits, instrumentation used here and there.
Yeah. My
second note, and it was from one of those orchestral, because there's a couple where it's just a minute or less little bits. And I don't remember if it was The Orchestra Takes Flight or The Orchestra is Feeling Tense. It was one of those two, because they're both 30 seconds or a minute long. Literally, dude, I don't know why, because I even literally tried to find why my brain thought of this. But so that comes on, right? And it's got this kind of it might be the Orchestra's Feeling Tense, because it has this kind of this tense, almost combative sound that's going on, right? And it feels suspenseful. My brain went to Bambi. The scene, I looked it up, and the music in the scene that my brain went to was not really a match. So I don't know what part of Bambi it comes from, but in my mind, where that bit first came on was the scene at the end of Bambi where him and his dad are running through the forest that's on fire and everything's crashing around him and stuff.
Oh wow.
I don't know why, dude, but it just had I've not watched Bambi in years. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was I was literally driving home from work, and it was the first time I got to that part of the playlist, and that pops up, and I was just stuck on the interstate, all right, pause this playlist. Bambi, fire scene. Play. I was like, listen, I was like, that's not it. Bambi, other scene, music, play. I'm like I listened to like 4 or 5 Bambi songs. I'm like, none of these are it. I don't know why this made me think of Bambi. I have no idea. But
also because Bambi's depressing as fuck too. So.
Bambi can be, that's for sure.
Oh man. Yeah. This album was hard. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard for me to listen to this album. And I was like, I gotta commit. I threw it on there. I can't backtrack on it now. So I was like, maybe I'm not hearing something. Maybe I was in a different vibe, different headspace. I don't know. But yeah, this album, I had to be fully caffeinated on like extra adrenaline. Like I had to be doing something because every time I tried to listen to this album, I fell asleep. Like I kept getting instantly drowsy every time I try to get to this album.
It's definitely not one I think people are going to be taking shots to, you know?
Oh, I mean, I hope not, especially after that.
This is probably terrible to say, but they'd probably be taking another kind of shot.
Another kind of shot, seriously. I mean, it's like he literally said it, like on the
getaway voice note.
I
was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, because like I heard that when I finally
got a gun. Click.
Yeah,
it's like what? I had to go back. I literally had to reverse. I had to skip back and listen to it again as soon as that bit came on.
I did the same thing too, bro. Because I was like, hold up. I was like, did I just like? First of all, when I was awake enough to be like to get to that part of the album, it's like the second to last song. And I was like, okay, is this the last song? I don't know. And then that part came on, and it just ends. It goes into the next song, and I was like, hold up, did the stream did my Wi-Fi cut out? Like,
no,
I didn't know what was happening. So I went back and listened to it like a couple of times. I was like, oh, that really said what I thought it said. So, I mean, look, there's a time and place for everything, and like not everything can be party and upbeat or whatever else. But clearly, like, you know, if you're going through relationship issues and like, I didn't take this Black Friday to be as moody as it was. And I should have looked at the album cover because it definitely personifies that, sitting in the dark with just the blonde's clothes and just wallowing in darkness.
I didn't even think about it, but yeah, it's so true.
But
it looks like he's just saying to himself, life is pain.
Yeah, pain is life. So,
that's great.
Yeah, but yeah, this is a little, wow. I mean, there were a couple of songs, like, again, the Black Friday song was good.
Black Friday, and I like the orchestra bits, and like you said, I mean, there's definitely some good songs on here. There's some like very thoughtful lyrics throughout the album, I feel like. For
sure, you know? For sure. This is somebody who's going through some stuff.
But it's probably not an album you're just gonna be just throwing up any day of the week. Like you said, this is definitely probably, you know, the time and place you probably need to be. For me, at least, and I'll put it in my perspective, I probably won't listen to this now that we're done with after this episode, now that we're on this playlist. I probably won't listen to this if I'm like kind of feeling down. I'm having like a rough, I don't know, week at work, or I'm, you know, like you said, relationship troubles or something. Like I gotta be kind of in a bummer, gray, cloudy mood that type of mood.
Yeah,
to really vibe to this. But it's not bad. I mean, it's not something I want to listen to like every day.
Oh, definitely no. And this was definitely a slog to get through. So I do apologize for the listeners in advance. But again, we commit, so we're open to all different genres. But just to give like a little quick overview about Tom Odell. So apparently, you know, he's I guess he is the first male recipient of Brits Critics' Choice Award.
Oh. The
previous winners of that award include Adele, Emily Sandé, and Florence and the Machines. Mm. So I guess they love their female singers out there, but Tom came through and was like, oh, wow. I have a quote I got from him. Odell has said that his lyrics are inspired by his inability to sustain a relationship with someone for longer than 6 months.
Womp womp.
He says, I find that I write much better songs when I'm being honest and writing about things that happen to me. It can be a little weird, though, when friends or girlfriends work out that the song is about them. But it's amazing no matter how you get it. Artistic license, I guess. So that's the quote from good old Tom Odell. But oddly enough, according to the quick little research, she actually got married recently. So hopefully things are on the up and up. Maybe the next album would be more upbeat, but this one was definitely a dark one.
Maybe this album was his therapeutic process to
to get it all
over his
out.
commitment issues or whatever was keeping him alone before.
Absolutely.
Oh, congratulations, Tom Odell and whoever Mrs. or Mr. Odell is. I don't want to assume
it's Mrs. Odell.
Okay,
so, but I was questioning because I accidentally saw the video for one of the songs and they had two dudes that were like doing an interpretive dance, and I was like, this is weird. And I was going to send it to you to look at, but I was like, this is too weird for me to explain. And this album is dark and depressing as hell. I was like, I just want to get through this. I didn't want to prolong this any longer. It was a bit rough.
You really hit the nail on the head. There's a time and place for everything. There's definitely going to be some point in future me's life where this album is going to hit just right for what I'm going through. So just having it in my back pocket for that is.
I hope you never had to listen to this album for that situation, because then I would be concerned for you. I'll be doing wellness checks at all times. I'll be like, cancel his subscription right now. He cannot listen to this song no more. This song has been blocked on your playlist. Oh goodness! But speaking of songs that were not, or albums that won't be blocked on my playlist, good old Alt J.
Alt J. So I feel like.
It's been a while. It's been a while since I heard this album, actually.
Okay. I was trying to remember if this, I was trying to remember the timeline, because I know, like, whenever you and me first started becoming friends and started sharing music, Alt J was one of the groups I shared, because then you came back with, oh, you like Alt J? Check out this group, Hot Chip. They're kind of similar, but more, got a little bit more, like, obvious British bent to it or something. And so, and Hot Chip is another group that I still occasionally will pop up in my playlists and whatnot. So you were familiar with this album already beforehand, right?
Oh, yeah. So it took me a minute to recognize it. I was like, I know Alt J. I know I've had some of their songs in my playlist, and I recognize the cover art, but I was like, I can't really place what song it was. And then Left Hand Free came on. I was like, that's where I heard them. I recognize them from my playlist, but I haven't actually intently listened to the entire album. I only gave it that one listen way back in the day and just saved it and never really paid attention to it since then. Not to say that it wasn't bad, but I just moved on to other things. But listening to this album, oddly enough, listening to Tom Odell, it was like a whole vibe transition. Like
it is. The whole album itself is a very kind of specific vibe. I feel like.
Yes, it is. It is. And like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Some of one of my two favorite songs that I really liked so far off the album was Every Other Freckle, which I was glad that you sent me those videos to check out. I never watched the videos for them.
It's pretty good. It's basically the same idea or theme. Just one has a male as like the main star of the music video and one has a female. Yeah. Because Every Other Freckle, the song is about kind of like unwanted, like constant, like almost stalkery affection, I feel like. Yeah. That's how I've always read into it. And so like having basically the same song, but two music videos, one with a male perspective and one with a female perspective, was always something I thought was really cool artistic take on that. Yeah,
that was very dope. Like I don't think I've ever seen that done to that level, to where you get it's kind of like choose your own adventure situation or whatever. So I do want to give two shout outs for that video. One, the comments, the number one comment on both of them was like, I want to see a video with the cat's perspectives, because the cat was like, yeah, everybody loved that cat on the beanbag. Yeah. So that was dope. And I do like how they visually represented that same lyric in that video. That was dope. Secondly, which I may cut out, but that snake scared the shit out of me, and I jumped so high. I don't like snakes. I don't like snakes jumping at the screen. I don't like none of that.
I don't mean to scare you. I kind of forgot about that bit until you just said it.
Yeah. So when that happened, I was like, that scared the shit out of me. So, but beyond that, the video was dope. It was pretty dope. Jumping back to the intro, I was definitely surprised by the intro. Like, coming off of that depressing ass Tom Odell album, hearing la 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 la. Like
the intro, because this was their second like full studio album. And
okay.
Their first studio album and this one both have like both of the intros from both albums are like one of my favorite songs off the album. And they don't even have like, it's literally just like you were just saying, like mostly like kind of lyrical with them just like humming and
yeah, it feels like a jam session. So like, and that's what I like about this album, and also this album harkens back to Moon Taxi. It gives me Moon Taxi vibes a little bit too.
Definitely got there's similar vibes, there's kind of similar space, like sonically for sure. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite songs off this, I do like both the ones you said, Every Other Freckle and The Gospel John Hurt. Left Hand Free is another. I think that was Left Hand Free and Every Other Freckle. I think were like the two big like singles off the album, so they were like the most well known. But they were arguably you could say the best songs on the album. But one I really like is Hunger of the Pine.
Okay.
And the Miley Cyrus sample, she's a female rebel, or I'm a female rebel, or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And there's kind of a cool story behind that. Apparently, they were working on doing like a remix for a Miley Cyrus. Like they were going to completely like remix a Miley Cyrus song. Mm-hmm. And then because they lost I think their bassist in between the first album and this album coming out. And so they were like kind of experimenting with some different sounds and stuff in between, like while they were working on this album. Mm-hmm. And so the guy, the drummer, someone like just pulled that little bit and for some reason really liked it. And so like ended up messaging Miley like, hey, we're trying to remix, but we really want to use this like sample of you in one of our songs. Is that cool? And she apparently gave him like full, it's like, yeah, please, I think that would be great. I'm actually a huge fan. Because like he said in an interview, like, yeah, apparently she's a fan of ours, which is like kind of crazy to think about. Wow. And you got to think also, this was like 2014, 2015. Miley Cyrus was like near the top of her like level of fame at that point, and Alt J was still, they'd only had one album that was like kind of big on like indie rock circuits and stuff, but they hadn't really like blown up by any means. So I thought that was kind of cool that they had a moment where they were like a big pop star like graciously let them sample her because she's a fan.
That's dope. Like I didn't realize that. I mean, okay, I guess this is one of my moments that I didn't catch that was a sample. I thought that was one of the band members that was really, back there doing the vocals. I don't think, unless you're like a huge Miley Cyrus fan, that most people would catch that that as a sample, because it blends in really well. It doesn't really make much sense lyrically in the song, I think, but that's also one thing I like about the song too, is it's very like kind of abstract. Like this Hunger of the Pine specifically has like a very abstract poetry type feel, like with the lyrics. That kind of tickles my inner poet a little bit to sit down and try and like decipher what they're trying to say to some extent. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this definitely, I mean, this is an album that like, again, you know, there's maybe I would even say potentially like up to half of the album is like, if you just try to listen to it by itself, wouldn't be great. Like you got the interlude, the Garden of England interlude and Choice Kingdom, like back to back, have like very, again, it's within the context of the other songs around it. It's like a nice little break, you know, kind of give you a breather, and it's more just like just the way I look at it is trying to get you to feel a certain way, not necessarily like think about it or anything like that. This is like one of the albums that you really need to listen to it in order to kind of get the full vibe. And I honestly would recommend like, maybe I should have put their debut album on here instead, but I like this one a little bit more, is why I put this one on here. But there's like, you know, like I already mentioned the intro, Blood Flood Part 2. That's because they had Blood Flood, just didn't say Part 1 because it was just Blood Flood, but that was the song from their debut album. There's definitely some, like this definitely felt like, I remember whenever this album came out, it felt like a sequel, like an actual sequel album to the previous one, instead of just, oh, this is this band's newest album, not really connected to anything that came before, maybe even sounds drastically different. This one, no, it sounds like a sequel to the previous album, which is that's unique. You don't see that a ton. You don't like there's a thing in the industry that was called like the second album blues or whatever. Because you have your whole life to make your first album, but then when you come time to do your second album, it's like, ooh, can we repeat the same thing or get the same vibe again? But for them to have, like, I haven't listened to the first one yet, which I will go back and listen to the first album. If this is a continuation of that, I would love to hear the evolution of their sound and also to see the growth, as well as, you know, so some of the things that remain the same. But yeah, it's a good album. I enjoyed it. It's also definitely, because I'm pretty sure they had like a bassist come in for some songs or whatever, but it is like noticeable because there's some songs on here that don't have bass. And I think that's because they didn't have a bassist at the time. And so they just wrote the song without a bass track.
And it is like, I don't know, once I learned that and like went back and actually like was listening for it, I feel like it's kind of a noticeable difference, change, whatever. And I think, like I was saying earlier, they kind of experimented with some different sounds and like soundscapiness, I guess, for the second album to kind of, I don't know if it was intentionally to help cover over that or just a natural evolution of them trying, just experimenting after losing a core group member like that.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, you know, it's different, but it has a lot of the same vibes. A lot of you definitely, like you were saying, you can see the growth and the change from one to the next. So
yay! Guess what?
What?
We did it.
We did it.
We did it! Yay! So thank you guys for listening to this episode. Thank you for listening to the playlist and hanging out with us this week. Tell us what you think. You know, you can always leave us a comment and we'll respond accordingly. You can always find us on our social media links, previous episodes, and playlists on our website at theplaylist.com. And if you would like to support us and show your love for the podcast, we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/outtheplaylist. Just a little small monetary donation can help us keep the music streaming. So whatever you want to do would be great. If not, you can always do a free membership as well. And we're working to grow that and, you know, see what happens beyond that. So until next time, keep on listening.
Keep on listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Black Giraffe made this.